Well, this crisis camp is extremely important because in my business with the World Bank, we are looking to integrate disaster risk in all phases of development, not just during disasters themselves, but beforehand. Identifying the information that we need is a critical and very difficult problem. It comes from many different sources, and then disseminating the information about what is at risk. How safe is your hospital? How safe is your school? What is the likelihood of an earthquake creating a collapse or a flood event or hurricane impact? Understanding, analyzing, and sharing this information is a very collaborative process.
First thing that we're all going to do is we're going to turn to social media at this point in time. We're going to look and see if someone else is around us or near us or our family members or our friends who are in our streams. And if we know that people are going to use those type of tools, if we can put things in front of them along the way or have them staged so that when it happens, someone can pull in a resource like Open Map, which is what we're going through here today, or just this concept of how our federal government, through programs like FEMA, can work with citizens who are now wired and wanting to actually do something.
The exonyms and endonyms, right? So an endonym is what locals call that place. So what do they call it in Creole? Exonyms are what foreigners call it. So what do you call it in English? Because that's not the local language. So you can put any of those in here so you can localize maps. You can generate maps that are in French or in German or in Spanish.
So in a disaster, OpenStreetMap primarily collects road and building information, but anything you can extract from aerial imagery itself. So for example, the way I would use it for the bank is for a damage assessment. So, and this is essentially what we did in Haiti, was that we collected high-resolution imagery and we cut it up, the bank itself cut up the imagery into smaller pieces and farmed that out to engineers all around the world. But we did this in a one-off ad hoc way. Now we need to go back and we need to, provide a system for this. So next time we can just trigger it rather than having to reinvent the wheel every single time. And OpenStreetMap, I think, is a very good framework in which to do this because you already have literally tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of volunteers willing to help you in that process.
And we know that the citizens are always going to have the information before anyone else is, because the first responder is always going to be a citizen or individual. That you have a bunch of smart guys that are sitting there aggregating tweets and information, and like literally in the middle of the operations center, of the emergency operations center, they would have less information. They actually have a blind spot if they are not collecting the data from the public and it's plugged into the operations.
But by reading Twitter, he was able to say, well, they're incorrect. There was no one in the building.
Few hours after an earthquake, but after that people expect, by God, the cavalry to ride into the rescue. And I think you made a really good point. That's not always going to happen. People have to help themselves.
Send a message, my son's trapped in this building, it automatically gets picked up, the Haitian diaspora translates it within 10 minutes. Folks in Tuskegee University in the back end look at the messages, sort them, decide which ones are real, stick them on Ushahidi, and a helicopter from the U.S. military engages in the air within 2 minutes of the message being posted. I mean, that was an incredible set of events, right? I mean, that's, you think about it, volunteers and Haitians were there front-end situational awareness. I mean, that is an amazing thing that occurred. So that's why Frontline SMS was very effective, Frontline SMS Medic and others. So if you're trying to do web-based apps, they were fairly useless there, right? But anything that dealt with SMS was incredibly effective.
In terms of communications, the most resilient communications network is SMS. So even if your voice can fail, SMS messages can still get through. And so a lot of the technologies that come out of the communities like this are SMS based.
One of the next steps is in early January, we're going to launch CrisisCamp-In-A-Box. So anyone, anywhere can be able to not only be matched up with a mentor that's created Crisis Camp before, but they can also have the tools and resources to create their own Crisis Camp.